All right, guys, welcome to what's possibly day one of my engine install video series. Hope you've been following along the broken Boxster battle, and we are finally at a state where this thing is back together, ready to go in the car, fire it up and test it and see if it actually works. So I was out yesterday and I found this shirt, which I thought was perfect for the end of this series. So that's a reminder to you, all of you pro mechanics out there. Thank you for your tips and suggestions, but you know, when you're telling me I'm an idiot, I already know that, so you can leave that part out. All right, so I will be watching my videos in reverse to show you guys how I'm putting this back in. I believe I remember zip tying this up here out of the way. So let me just take that back off, because in my video, I see that this was dangling over here as I lowered it. So I'm gonna just put the engine kind of back in place. I made these tape marks months ago, which have all worn off, and the engine did get moved and it's a whole new engine. So they're actually not gonna do me any good. So I'll remove those and just kind of line it up by eye and start from there. And while they're easy to reach, and I don't think I did it before, I tightened up the bolts that are holding on the engine mount, and now just gonna put it in place. All right, so to get a good guess, we got a string tied around here where our engine mount is gonna be, so I can see once this stops swinging that I need to move this forward a little bit to line it up. All right, so you saw that we started pushing the big wiring harness up through the hole as it got up and removing slack. And now this part has to go in before you get it up much higher too. So this part looks like it just kind of sits on the transmission. This part goes up to that tube. This is going to our throttle body here. So I'm just gonna set this in place now and let it ride up. All right, on this side, it was scary again, but I put these back on the inside of this. This is the emergency brake cable or something, I don't know. Some cable that runs through here to both sides. These I had to put on the inside of it to lower the engine because this cable stays with the car. So when I was at this point, I tucked them back up over it and under, so they'll be on the outside, because if you keep raising it, they would make contact and interfere here. All right, according to my removal video, this was also on the other side of this cable originally. So that's what I did with the other ones. Tucked it up and over. All right. So that's gonna go there. And now I think we have to stick the air compressor back through our hole behind the passenger seat and attach that while we still have clearance. All right, yeah, so time for this part. I'm gonna stick him back in here and attach him. All right, that was not fun, but I got it back in place. I don't have the bolts started yet. So the biggest hang up was at first that fuel rail, the back of it was hitting it, had to lift that fuel rail up a little bit. But then this B terminal thing was in the way of the hard lines. So I had to lift it up over those and kind of tilt it at an angle to get it in there. but the battle is almost won. Okay, so this is the right side or passenger side on the US transmission mount, and we couldn't get it out after disconnecting it without lowering the car some last time, so I'm gonna go ahead and insert it before the car is all the way raised. All right, so let's see. This guy comes over here somehow. Let's see, what's the best way to get this in? Each other. So maybe I can still push the transmission. There we go. Okay. So I guess I'm just sitting it here for now.
Where's the
Tug tire. Both up on top here.
Right there?
Yep. So it still needs to get up higher to make clearance. Gotcha. Yeah. Ooh. Do need a little bit of give to get that thing in. All right, that sucked. Just to let you know, we came in from down here and we held that black box that you can see right there at the top of the transmission. That's the tube. Goes from your air filter to your air intake. And if you can see it up there's that 10mm bolt. And the reason that it took us forever and we could not get to it was this was still on the top of the transmission. So it's a good thing we had a really hard time, or that would have been a world of suck when I tried to start the car with this in the transmission. So future Aaron, when you're doing this next time, check that. All right, at this point, when I lowered it a little more, the brake cable here started getting snagged on top of this piece. So I had to raise it just a little bit again, has just enough flex to be able to pull it over that corner so that this can pass up under through it. All right, we have it lowered enough where we can thread the first bolt in the transmission mount here. So we're going to go ahead and attach this transmission mount. All right, next step is to replace the left side transmission mount. Next, I pushed this back in here and it clipped into place in the bracket with the shift cable. Back underneath to the front of the engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I tighten up all 4 of the the engine mount bolts now. All right, happy days. Everything is reattached down there. So now I can just lift the car back up. What a major step. Everybody following along and doing this. Take a little time out. Congratulate yourself. A little pat on the back. The engine is now mounted again to the car and in the air, carrying its own weight. Now that it's fully lifted, it's easier to walk around again underneath. And so I'm just going to do a few things like get these hoses back where they belong over here. And this is our new hose that we're gonna connect over here. All right, so I'm just gonna get him back on with 2 hands. Our hose clamp is right here, clamp him on. This newer hose is a tiny bit shorter. You can see a little bit how it's pinched towards the corner and pulled tight and isn't quite as long because the other one came all the way up to this back lip. But here's the indent that it's covering. Hose clamp, super tight and secure, should work fine. So on the other side, I'm just going to rearrange all of these hoses. Hook this guy into here, this guy into here, this guy into here, and this little one over here. All the hoses are reconnected now. I lost this hose clamp somehow, and ironically, I did not own one single hose clamp, so I went to AutoZone and bought one. But all of the hoses are all back together and assembled now. So the next step is I'm gonna take this piece that I removed. All right, I pulled this whole piece out of the car, so I'm gonna have to attach that next. It routes up under the arm here, and that little rubber grommet goes into that little bracket there. And this hose clamp that I saved goes onto the tip of it right there. All right, it is snapped back in its little brackets. I just need to tighten it to attach it there. Comes up under that arm, grommet is in place, and we have liftoff. Tightening this back up with a 19 millimeter. Okay, now our dangly line should be able to make its way back up here. I believe it was up on top of this. Yet under this thing, so let me finagle this a little. All right, so you can clip in here and under here, and then we're gonna tighten this one just like we did the other. And remember from when we removed them, this little thing at the end looks kind of like a crown. Make sure you have not lost those pieces. And of course, these are gonna be 15 millimeter. Why would they also be 19? All right, here's our easiest pieces to put back on, I hope. Yeah, luckily they are different sizes, and the pipes can just press in there, push on here, just a little quick connect. Snaps in, and lock it in up there. All right, I still have a red cap up here. It doesn't have anything connected to it, so I gotta keep an eye on that and remember. All right, if you recall, there's a metal clip that goes in here to keep these 2 rubber grommets in their places. Somewhere in my garage, that piece exists. Where, I do not know. Just went ahead and press fit that back in. Oh, found it, reinstalled it. Okay, so I also found my transmission bolt and nut for that stud that I had been looking for forever in the garage. Like a moron, I used it for the old engine to mount it here. So I need to take it back. Yep, so this nut goes back on this stud. Have to tighten that up so we can finally secure our transmission. And this is the bolt. It goes right up here in this super hard to reach spot. That piece here was our rear axle support. So I'm going to reattach that. So again, this thing goes here. It's got 4 bolts. I don't remember this one being so difficult, but I would start with this one up here because there's a lot of hard lines that are in the way and prevent you from getting a socket on it. So get that one started by hand and screwed in as flush as you can before the other ones. All right, I got 3 of them in. I can't get the 4th one started in yet because all of this junk has been moved around. So that's why they say if you ever take this off, make sure you get in alignment. All right, I got the bolts started. Problem solving. I realized that the hole needed to come that way some. So I put a ratchet strap on around here, and I think I just broke my ratchet strap, but that's all right. It works long enough to pull this over just enough to get that started. All right, clean these up a little bit because they were so nasty. I'm gonna put some blue Loctite on them, and it is 39 Newton meters to torque these back on. And to remind you, they're going here to attach your drive shaft back to your transmission. Okay, so both sides are reattached. All right, a little safety chain thing now can be attached to that. It attaches onto our engine block here, and these ends go into this 13mm nut and bolt. And who knew that this thing had writing on it if you clean it up a little bit. And if you recall, remove the nut from here, stick that through, nut on the other side. All right, gonna put this piece back up here next. Looks like it can go either way, but based on the witness marks down here from the big metal plate that goes on top of it, I'm gonna face that towards the front of the car. Attached with 2 15mm, one on each end. All right, just lowered the car so I could take a look at the top. Realized I did not really do my due diligence when lowering this to make sure things weren't getting whacked and hitting each other. So yeah, I needed to be feeding this pipe through instead of just letting it get caught up there. Everything else probably fine, but yeah, so wiring harness is here. We can pull that the rest of the way through, get that grommet back in. Looks like I'm getting lucky, and this wasn't really brittle plastic. And I can kind of tuck him back under here where he's supposed to be. And connect him over here. Yeah, so I will use 2 hands, connect this, and put the hose clamp back in place. I just reattached that into there. Gonna plug this back into here. And I think I'm gonna call it a day for right now. All right, that was super exciting. Got a lot of progress made. And again, do not forget, I have no idea what I'm doing. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one.